That's not Goku! Hey, how's it going, guys? We're here with the latest release of the S.H Figuarts Dragonball line, and this is actually the next Dragonball Super release that we've had after Hit. And yeah, so it's Goku Black, Super Saiyan Rose. So this is the third release, I believe, for this character. We had the retail release back in 2018, and then there was a event exclusive as well, which is this is kind of like a cheap retail release of that event exclusive, just without the accessories that it comes with. So yeah, if you are new to collecting, if you're just getting into collecting the Figuarts lines, one thing to keep note of is on the box, this is the Japanese release, so we've got the golden Toei sticker which has a 23 on it. Other regions will have different colours. There'll be silver and kind of a pink magenta colour as well. I believe that one's for Hong Kong, Asia, whereas silver generally the US release. And also you have the Tamashii quality seal, and this is a great way to help distinguish between a legitimate figure or not. So yeah, we've got the general cutout showing the main figure with some poses on the side, and then same on the back. Just a nice selection of the different faces and hands that he comes with. Now this figure doesn't come with any actual accessories, so you've just got him and the hands and face, yeah. So let's take him out of the box and take a closer look. Okay, so here we have him out of his packaging, and as you can see he is pretty limited what he comes with. Now keep in mind that he does retail at, I believe, 3,850 yen, and I believe 40 US, so yeah, he's pretty cheap. It's a lot cheaper than his original release, which did come with accessories. So it's kind of a decent trade-off if you have the original ones. If you don't, then it is a little bit of a shame he doesn't have at least a key effect or something along those lines. But what we do have is 1, 2, 3 additional faceplates, teeth gritting, kind of a sad smirk, and then the open mouth screaming. And on his actual head, in the packaging, he has the smiling smirk, which is pretty cool. Then on the right hand side, we've got the extra hands, so you've got the teleportation, sort of a gripping hands, and then the ones for doing his key blast attack. One thing I was really surprised with when I took him out was he's actually got weathering down his body, so yeah, that is something that's really great to see. So I guess there's a trade-off for not having the extra accessories, was to put that extra money into doing the full body weathering. Anyway, let's take him out of his plastic shell here, and we can take a closer look at that weathering as well as his articulation. Okay, so as he swings around we can see the lovely reflections from his pearlescent rose coloured hair, and then down on his gi and legs you can also see the weathering that he has on him. It's especially noticeable on the inner part of his gi, and then down on the lower flaps here and above the knee areas. And this is something that I'm super glad they've brought back, and hopefully they do that for following releases. Now generally when I get a brand new figure, I'll take it out and I'll do the 360 images for Rockchala.com. Now there is a link in the description below for this figure and its reference page, so be sure to check that out for more images. But what I want to point out is that normally you have a plastic wrapping on the inner chest there that you have to pull off when you get a brand new figure. Now this guy didn't actually have one at all, so I'm not sure if it's just maybe this figure was missing it, or if going forward it is something that they're going to do to reduce plastic waste, which will be quite nice. So yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what they do with the plastic going forward, if it's just my release, if it's this figure in general, or all figures going forward. So yeah, that's something I found quite interesting. Beyond that, if we move up, he does have his earring, which looks lovely as well. It's very similar to the recent 2.0 Vegeta one as well, where it's, the moulding of that one looks really good. Anyway, let's get in nice and close and check out his articulation. Okay, so starting on the head, this is basically exactly the same as any Goku body in terms of the amount of articulation that he has. So you've got decent moving on the left and right and tilting articulation for the head. Moving over to the arms, again, I don't really see anything too special here. It's all very standard, though it does have a nice range, which is good. And yeah, you got the usual double butterfly joints on the inside, so you do get a decent range there. Again, it's basically much the same with any recent Goku body release from the 2.0 range. Moving down to this chest and area, I feel, yeah, this guy actually has some decent range. I do feel like it's a little bit better than recent figures. It could just be because he's a little bit looser than other ones. He still can't really bend forward too far. And his back range is a little bit limited, but the twisting is really nice. You've got the full on waist part and then the upper chest area as well. So this is something that I do think is very nice. It probably helps that it's held up a little bit higher due to the belt, and that hides the seam, so it does give you that little bit extra range there, which is nice. And then the longer part here, it is the harder rubber. I think it would have been quite nice if they'd gone with a bit more of a softer touch like they did on Hit, but it doesn't seem to hinder his movement too much, since it does have a split in the seam there, and it is pretty short cut just above his crotch, so not too limiting. Now onto his legs, I'm actually pretty surprised. He's got a decent range there. I don't think it's quite as far as the recent Piccolo, but yeah, decent range, and everything moves actually really well. I haven't noticed any joints being stiff or tight, which is fantastic. Everything moves in a fluid motion, which is great. And down onto the knees and legs. These are, again, nothing out of the ordinary, just exactly what you'd expect from a Goku figure. Then his ankles and toe tips move as well. I feel like the feet actually move pretty well, maybe even slightly better, since his design is very smooth and there isn't really anything else to get in the way. So yeah, his feet are actually really nice. Okay, so now that we've checked out articulation, let's take a closer look at the faces. But before we get into the actual faceplates, this is just how everything connects. You've got the 4 pegs, the 2 on the face, which just slots on, and then the bangs just slot in above. But before we attach the bangs back on, let's get a closer look at that default face. And yeah, I think the lines look really good. The smirk is really nice, with a little bit of extra colour detailing on the top part there to highlight it. And then the lines on the actual eyes themselves are very crisp. So yeah, overall I feel like the face looks really good. And on the left hand side of his face, he does have an earring. And along with that lovely green colour, there is a slight golden part there for the, I guess, I'm not actually sure what it's called, the part that clips to his ear. Yeah, so it's a nice little wee detailing that they went for, which, to be honest, generally you won't even notice unless you're looking really close. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool that they took the extra step. Okay, so this is the second faceplate that he comes with, the left looking teeth gritting face. Yeah, again, looks really nice. There's decent detailing there, especially on the top of eyebrows where it kind of thins out, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I think, yeah, overall looks really good. Let's jump on to the next one. Okay, so the second faceplate he comes with is the straight looking kind of sad frowning face. Yeah, I think looks really good again, no real complaints there. Okay, and last up we have the open mouth screaming face for when he does his key attack. And yeah, I think this looks really good actually. The mouth detailing is really nice, the whole tongue and colouring in there. Yeah, I think they nailed this face, it looks really good. And yeah, again, the earring with the extra detailing of the gold paint is really nice. One thing that's pretty cool, each right hand does have his ring, which is coloured in a nice silver paint as well. So this is the default closed fist. And then we've got his Ki Blast attack as well for the ring there. Also got the grippling, I guess, karate type martial arts hand. Though my one actually has some paint on his finger, which isn't very good. A little bit of a sloppy work there for this one. So yeah, that is something to keep an eye out for. If you do ever get a figure that has any big issues like this, the best thing to do is just contact the person you bought it from. Assuming you bought it from your country, just go to your local distributor, talk to them, and they should be able to sort out a replacement part for you. Okay, and finally we've got the instant transmission fingers there with the ring on. So yeah, I think the detailing that they've done with all the earrings and the ring on his hands is really cool. Okay, so I've got the Dragon Ball Super Goku here, along with the new Goku Black figure for the size comparison. And yet, looking at these two, the sizing is very similar. Obviously, the body types and uniforms slightly different, so that will make a little bit of a visual difference to them. But overall, they are the same size. So I've got them both set up in the same pose here, standing right next to each other, and yeah, they're Goku Black looks fractionally kind of smaller, but I think it's just because his head sits a bit lower on his body compared to Goku, whereas when you look at their shoulder points, they do line up pretty well, and same with each part throughout their body, their knees and going up to their waist as well. Now Goku Black, his waist system is quite different to this figure, whereas Goku has the fin belt and the waist connects directly up. Goku Black does have a figure belt as well, so this does allow the waist to sit a little bit higher. I think that is why this does move in a slightly more fluid motion. But yeah, the sizing works out really good and they look great next to each other. Let's jump over to the pros and cons. Okay, so now that we've completely checked them out, let's jump into the pros and cons. Now, so starting off with some of the pros, if you're a big fan of this character and you missed out on his early releases, this is going to be a great pickup due to his price point. Good cheap figure, while being light on accessories, he does have the body weathering which looks really nice. The face sculpting is really good and the articulation is good as well, and as we saw with the sizing compared to Goku, works out extremely well as well. So moving on to the cons, I just feel like he's a bit rough around the edges. I don't really feel like this is their best work that they've done. So to see what I mean, let's get in a bit closer, and if we spread his legs out, might be a bit hard to see, but on the plastic here, it's essentially where they've clipped off the plastic or where it's coming out of the molds. They've got a lot of these markings left over. Now normally you do get them on the inner parts, but it's very noticeable on the joints on his legs as well as the arms as well. On the inside of his arms it's all pretty rough. It's not exactly a clean finish on him. He also has a few kind of thin marking scratchings on the inner torso as well. Yeah, on the back of the arms as well you can see where it's basically come out of a mold. I mean, it's a cheap figure, but I still feel like compared to most Tamashii figure and releases that they've done, the quality for this guy is just not that high. But yeah, besides those points, yeah, I don't have any other real main cons. He's not a character that I'm particularly fond of in the series or anything like that, but he still looks really nice as a figure, and he'll still pose up well with the other Dragon Ball Super Goku figures. So for those points alone, yeah, I do feel like he's worth picking up, especially if you see him cheap in store or anything like that. Being a retail release, he should be up on a few of these sales later this year or next year, I would assume, unless he sells out, which could be since he is a high demand character, but since he does have a few releases already, he may stick around a bit longer than expected. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe, and if you want to see more photos of Goku Black here, check out the link below to rockchala.com. And if you want to talk about the figures in general, whether this guy or Cooler, who's coming later this month, come join us on Discord. Best place to talk about the Dragon Ball figures in general and to stay up to date with the latest news. Anyway, again, cheers for watching.